My name is Gasia, Mikaelian, and I'm coming to you through KTVU Fox 2 News in the San Francisco Bay Area. You can tell I'm working from home. Many of you probably are as well. We are talking about work and keeping your motivation up during these difficult times. I'm so happy to welcome to our conversation Carson Tate, CEO of Working Simply. Thank you so much for being with us, Carson.
Well, thank you so much for the opportunity. And I too am working from home.
It's amazing what we can do when forced, right? I think a lot of people are in our same position, working from home, probably for the first time, or at least for longer than they're used to. It can be very difficult to feel motivated when the boss isn't hanging over your shoulder, or you feel like you're not going to have to walk into that meeting room and be accountable to the people you report to. How do we keep that motivation up when it's, us and our cozy slippers at home?
Right. And there's nothing wrong with the cozy slippers, but yes, we want to I talk about keeping our mojo high. And one of the best strategies is to go for an early win. So get an early win in your day, check something off your list, do something personal. Maybe it's a few yoga moves, but to your point, we don't have to go to the office, but we got to jumpstart that motivation. Then we need to be thinking about, in this virtual world, how am I consistently communicating my successes, what I'm accomplishing in my projects to my manager? Because to your point, they don't see me in the meeting. They aren't seeing me walk down the break from the break room and get into chat. So we want to make sure you're really communicating clearly so they know all of the great work that you're doing.
I know that our boss, like I said, I'm at home in our newsroom. My news director is so busy with just figuring out safety, right? Protocols. And it dawned on me that I used to have those natural interactions with her a couple times a week, but I hadn't talked with her in several weeks. And so I actually messaged her and said, hey, can I call you on the phone? I don't really have anything particular to talk about. I just miss the connection that we used to have. And I felt like I was bearing my soul in asking for that. I'm so glad that she was very receptive. She said, call me right now. We had a great conversation, and I felt like it reset me on the inside.
Absolutely. You just need that connection and that affirmation and that acknowledgement and that human connection. And I'm so glad we can see each other and do Zoom, but there's all, if possible, how could you guys stand 6 feet apart outside of the newsroom and chat too?
Right. So let's talk about something that sounds so basic, but can be so hard: being happy at work. I know you and I are lucky. We have our dream jobs, right? Not everyone feels the same way. How can you feel happy, or at least happier, when maybe you're doing a job that isn't at the very top of your list?
Yeah, so I've got 3 tips for you. The first one sounds counterintuitive, but it's procrastinate. Procrastinate will make you happier at work, but here's the power of it. It actually helps you cull your to-do list. Take things off your to-do list. So the next time you feel like not doing the work, and it work sucks, I want you to ask yourself 3 questions. Does it drive revenue for my company? Does it help me achieve a strategic goal? And is it an opportunity to showcase my unique strengths and talents? If the answer is no to those questions, let it go guilt-free so that you can focus your energy on those tasks that do excite you, that do make you feel good.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Go on, you were saying?
No, and the second one is about doing the hard work. I think that sounds somewhat counterintuitive, but I would imagine for you, like getting that interview that you've been chasing, it feels really good. So there's a tension between hard and easy. And what we want to find is that midpoint, that sweet spot. So if work has gotten too easy, you're getting bored. So where can you stretch? Can you take a class? Can you do something hard? We want to be in that flow state. It's one of the 6 signs of happiness. And so we want to drop in. And then the third one is about routines, which sounds really boring, but routines will actually free up our time to do the things we love to do. So routines on email management, getting dressed, what you eat, even how you're thinking about getting your stuff done online, your errands online, that will help tremendously.
One thing I tell people in my newsroom back when we were all together, sometimes the boss will say something and I see people not doing that thing. And I am horrified because I say, look, we all do 100 things a day, now 150. If you don't do the top 3 things your boss is looking for, don't even bother doing the other 97. So is it important to really prioritize what the boss is looking for, even though I feel like, project number 17 is the most important one to me?
Absolutely. And it's also, so you prioritize what's important to your boss and check in and make sure that those priorities aren't shifting and changing, and don't lose your voice. There might be priority 17 for you that actually adds more value to your company, Let's elevate that. Your manager might not even know you're working on that project.
How do you think people can, I feel like we're just sort of treading water, right? Are there people you're talking with who are actually advancing their careers during this pandemic?
I actually talked to someone yesterday who had gotten a tremendous promotion, 3 levels up in his organization. And it was because he had maintained relationships across his organization with the shift due to our current state of affairs. He was able to reach out to his former manager and say, hey, here's what I've been doing. Here's how I can add value on this new account we have. And he got the position. That I do feel like is a little bit of an outlier. So what we're suggesting is how can you think about developing a new skill, growing and enhancing an existing skill, and just keeping that communication open with your manager and your colleagues.
For the first time in my life, I signed up for, my company has a mentoring program. And, for some reason, I just thought, wow, being able to connect with someone who might be in Philadelphia or Miami, but who's doing the same thing I do for the most part, that would be great. Because look, when I talk to my friends in the newsroom, on our messaging system, we're all kind of complaining about the same people and things, and it's not productive. But to get a fresh set of eyeballs from halfway across the country, that's like gold to me right now. So I took a step outside my comfort box, and we'll see how it goes, but that's probably not anything I would have done before the pandemic.
And kudos to you. That's fantastic. And the other thing that I hope you're going to pay attention to is they're going to probably see your strengths and skills in a different light, which is so powerful because sometimes we get blind to how awesome we are and focus on our opportunities. So powerful. And they can help open doors, which is really helpful.
Right. So as I mentioned at the top, you're a CEO. You built your business working simply. Can you give any advice to people who have a 9 to 5 and think that there's a very, a golden glow to this idea of starting their own business? I have heard it is very, very difficult, and success is anything but certain. Anything you have to say to someone who's now looking at you and saying, hey, I want to do that?
Yeah, so I don't ever, I'm an entrepreneur. I would want to crush someone's entrepreneurial dreams. And you've said it, it is very challenging to build a successful, profitable company. And it can be done. A clear product or service that the market needs, a strong business plan. And what I always suggest when folks ask me about being an entrepreneur is do it as a side gig. To keep your 9 to 5 and then test the market as a side gig so you can get that proof of concept before you resign and say, here I am. And it always takes longer. It always takes longer to be profitable and see that success than you think it does. So just hang in there, but it's going to take a while.
For those people who aren't quite ready to make that huge leap or even start sort of doing essentially what can feel like another job on top of their current job, are there ways that a person can try to craft or shift what he or she is doing at their current workplace that might be a little more satisfying to them?
Absolutely. So there are 3 places you can shape or craft your current job: task, how you're actually performing your task. Is there a way that you can do it slightly differently? So for example, let's say you're in product development, but you love marketing. Can you bring in marketing ideas when you are pitching the products? Of course you can. Can you take on a new task that allows you to stretch and cultivate a relationship? The second one is around relationships. Can you build new relationships? What you did is brilliant, finding a mentor. And then shifting how you think about your job. That's a cognitive shift. So reframing it around the value that you're bringing. I don't believe there's any job that's exempt from significance and meaning because it adds to our community. We need all of us in all of our jobs.
Do you find that personal connections among coworkers are even more important now? Because we don't get to see each other, and I don't get to hear that, oh, your daughter had a birthday party, or oh, your divorce was finalized. That natural interaction isn't there, and I'm craving that more than anything.
Oh, you and me both. And I'm finding, I'm like, oh, can we just chat for a few minutes? I would have spent 10 minutes chatting you up before because I'm like, I just want to talk to another human. It is important, and being intentional about it, like you were when you reached out to your manager, intentionally connecting, and not just on I am, but really connecting with our coworkers in an authentic way and asking about how they are and what's going on in their lives is so essential, because this is not the way humans were designed to interact.
Right. We talked a lot about, sort of from the employer viewpoint, looking up. How can I do better with informed management? You're a CEO. Can you tell me what you wish other CEOs, managers, bosses would keep in mind now about how to manage during the pandemic?
Mhm. So two things. The first one is that the relationship that you have with your employees is a social contract. It's based on give and take, which means both of us have an equal part in making this a healthy relationship. So empower and encourage your employees to identify what they need in this environment to be more engaged and fulfilled. It's recognition, it's development, it's the ability to shape or craft your job. So that's the first thing, that you've got to get that dialogue going. And the second thing is specificity. Managing in this world requires that you're very clear on what success looks like and open on the path, and have really clear accountability and follow-up procedures in place, because you can't just walk down the hall.
A lot of people might be fearing for their jobs, and rightfully so. We've seen millions of people laid off. What do you say to that worker who was pretty confident they were doing good work 9 months ago, but is now questioning every decision they make, every assignment they turn in?
So one thing we do with our executive coaching clients is we have them take their tasks and projects and literally map them to the strategic goals of the team or the organization, and then look for the ROI. So helping them see the clear connection between their strengths, what they did, and how it enabled the organization. And I challenge anyone in this position to have that document, you script it on a piece of paper or on Word, your strengths, your task, and how you helped that company achieve its goals. That is powerful in the conversation you need to have with your manager.
And finally, for people who might just be hearing about your company, Working Simply, for the first time through this conversation, or want to learn more about what we discussed, are there any good online resources or websites you'd like to point us to?
Well, I shamelessly would point you to ours, workingsimply.com. Absolutely. And I do think that there are some excellent other resources and websites out there. The Society, if you are a manager, HR, the Society for Human Resources, SHRM, is a great resource right now for managers and as well as employees on how to navigate this current world of work.
Well, I know we'll take sort of any help we can get. It's been a delight to talk with you. Thank you to Carson Tate, CEO of Working Simply. I appreciate all your time and your good advice.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.